Thank you for joining us for a very special Vox Cascadia, where we're here with Connor tonight, and we're here to just offer Connor some support. Connor, I know this is a very trying time in your life, knowing that in about 12 months, the love of your life, other than your wife, soon to be, is going to be removed from the competitive kill team. And we're here to support you. I'm joined by Branden, your dad, Bean, and we just want to come here and we want to wrap our arms around you and make sure that you're getting all the support that you need during this what must be a trying time. Connor, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, the Omnisci is dead. Kill Team is dead. This game sucks. Worst game ever. GW is gone the route of the dodo. I'm gonna burn their studio down to the ground, and yeah, so I'm taking it pretty well. No, I'm fine. All things considered, it's a bummer, but we'll talk about it.
Like I mentioned, we've got Branden Bean with us, the winner of a Kill Scream 2. Barely beat my ass. And we're going to talk about Kill Scream 3 that's coming up and just catch up with Branden and talk about the new stuff we've seen. What's up, buddy?
Hey guys, what's going on? Also, I have no regrets about Hunter Clay going away. I have absolutely no qualm about it. It's way too many boxes needed for that set. Even just the Rusties need freaking 3 different boxes for the options you need. Goodbye.
And that's the voice of reason we needed to hear, and I'm sure that's the support that Connor was looking for out of his father figure. So thank you for coming on. So
Nailed it.
Branden, I think we talked to you in like episode 4 or so. What have you been up to lately?
I've been trying to work on my hobby. This Nemesis Legion project that I've been trying to work on. I've honestly just run out of gas painting it. Some of the new models coming out, some of the new rules have gotten me excited about some of the new teams, some of the old teams, even if they're going to be a limited run. And besides that, I've just been running monthly tournaments at my local LGS at Tacoma Games. We are doing an invitational later this month for people that have won one of those open monthly tournaments, and so we'll have 8 people later this month to see who's the champion for the first season.
So tell me a little bit about this Nemesis Legion project you're working on.
So I figured out that between the box of Legionnaires I had, the Nightmare box, and the box of Chosen, that I can make every single option for either list as long as you don't count marks, make it mark agnostic. And I have them all glued up together and painted, so I have 26 individual models available to me for this project. I'm not using all of them for it. I plan on only building a roster, but it'll fulfill both Legionnaires and Nemesis Claw, which is good because Legionnaires won't be here that much longer. And by the time I'm done with it, I probably won't be able to play Legionnaires in a classified tournament.
Yeah, and you've only got 12 months to make that happen. Do you not think you're going to get them done in 12 months?
No, since getting back to work and focusing on other things around me, I've just been easily distracted by every little bunny.
Yeah, I think since last time we talked, you started a new career, so congratulations on that.
Thanks, much needed. I'm doing really well. So hopefully it'll open up some travel plans. And speaking to that, I will be traveling later this month to go to AVTT in Southern California, run by Squad Games. Going to be playing on a team down there. It's going to be great fun. Going to be wearing a whole lot of purple.
Oh yeah, you're repping Kel team for that then?
No, I'm still going to be repping KTC for the locals, so it'll still be Cats up here. But the team name, I'm joining Joshua Kelly and his friend to play down there. So I'll be playing with them, but I'm going to keep my team name the same.
That's good. So yeah, then the All Valley Team Tournament run by Squad Games is coming up the weekend of the 21st, I think, this month. And Connor, you've got a big event you're going to that weekend of the 21st too, right? Which is why you're not going to California.
That is correct, yeah. I was planning on going to the All Valley Team Tournament, but then I decided, oh wait, I'm getting married. And as much as Sierra supports my Kill Team hobby, I don't think she'd be okay with me missing the wedding date.
I mean, California marries people too.
You really should have just brought her down. Like it's right next to Six Flags. So, it's right there. You just go
Maybe
get
maybe
married, go to
that's what
Six
we'll do
Flags.
next year, where we'll celebrate the wedding anniversary. We'll go to Six Flags, and then I'll go play in the All Valley.
It's perfect. So, Connor, what have you been up to in the hobby since we talked last?
Not a ton. I was saying I was working on the intercession team. I posted some photos of the yellow guys, and then I got some more. But now knowing that there's a new intercession team on the way, at least we all assume that the Angels of Death team. I've been painting, but not gluing any of the arms on because I want to make sure that that will all still be fine. So just that, and then cut it up into the dartboards for Killscream.
Nice. Well, we've had a lot of reveals. We're getting reveals like every day now, and I love it. I think it's amazing. So far, we've seen how they're going to be rotating teams out. We kind of referred to it earlier with the AdMech finally going away. We've seen the teams of the Imperium. We've seen equipment. We've seen the Eldar, and then I think tomorrow we're getting Chaos, and then we're getting Space Marines. I think later this week. So you'll be able to see what you're actually working towards building when that new Angels of Death team comes out.
Yeah, I'm hopeful Angels of Death is like intercession, maybe mixed with a couple more special operatives. Like maybe we can bring some of the guys from Strike Force just in, like a Gravis or a uh whatever the sniper guy's called, a Phobos, I guess, or an Eliminator. That'd be really, really fun. Or maybe just more variety in intercession. Let us bring some couple more units, maybe like a Hell Blaster or a Jump Pack Assault Intercessor.
I'm looking forward to uh, not even. So I'm. You guys know I play Chaos. Chaos is sort of my bread and butter. But I'm really looking forward to see what they do to the Xenos teams. They already revealed Eldar, but they still got to reveal Commandos. They still got to reveal Hernkin. They still got to do the two different GSCs that are out there. Those rules are some of the most unique and most flavorful among teams, and I want to see how those translate. Those are the ones I'm most excited to see because those are really going to set the bar, in my opinion.
Now, y'all may have heard, well, you haven't heard Tyler here tonight. So, Tyler unfortunately had a conflict and wasn't able to make it, but he did join our friends on Squad Games last night and talked about the classified and declassified stuff that they have going on, which we'll get into that a little bit. But so, if you are missing your weekly dose of Tyler, make sure you check out him and Dakota and Matt from the Nova Open on Squad Games. So, it was a good listen as well, too.
Yeah, I just listened to that last night, and I want to comment on that because that's something that a lot of people are having a lot of doomsay about. Whether it be, oh no, the plastic I have is not going to get used, or oh no, I'm only going to be able to play this team for whatever amount of time. This overall, I cannot explain enough how much of a positive thing this is. This is like Magic the Gathering has been doing something similar to this for literally my whole life, and it has been lasted and now has different game modes of commander and type 2 and extended and whatever modern, I don't even know what they're called anymore, but it has stood the test of time, and players have found the game mode that they want to play. And this is what's going to happen to this game. You're going to have the people that are playing the competitive, that are playing the modern. You're going to have the people that want to play the teams that get through the first cycled out. You're going to have people that want to have anyone and everyone join and have that healthy community where anyone can join. And so they're going to make custom rules for companion teams and stuff like that for their local scene. And it's going to be great. It's going to be amazing. And I cannot wait to see what comes of this.
Yeah, so what Brandon's talking about, if y'all don't know, and if you're listening to us, I'm sure you know, but we're gonna pretend you don't, so we have content to talk about. Basically, what Games Workshop has come out and said is something of a range rotation for kill team, meaning that we can't have 100 kill teams to play. Which, as much as we would love to, we can't. They can't balance. Well, they don't want to balance at least the 100 different kill teams. So what they've decided is that all of the teams from year one are going to have one more year in what's called classified. So this is like GW's competitive, what they'll accept at their tournaments. So anything from Commandos, Death Corps, Krieg, anything in those year one boxes to any of the White Dwarf teams like Hunter Clade, have one more year once the new edition launches soon in that you can play them at GW tournaments, and then they're going to be rotated out. Doesn't mean you can't play them in unclassified tournaments, so they're still going to be supported throughout the entire next edition. So there's still 3 more years of support for those teams. They're just not going to be allowed at Games Workshop tournaments. Now we have the ability to let them be played at our tournaments if we want to. Branden, have you thought about that at all with your local scene? And you run tournaments pretty regularly. And what do you think about it?
I think on the monthly scene where there's no cost of entry, there's no golden ticket, it is sort of just a closed format. I'm accepting anyone and everyone, and if I need to create some rules for compendium teams, the from what we've seen so far, the stats translate pretty cleanly over to what is going on now. I cannot imagine it being too difficult to add a Tyranid team of Gaunts and Gene Stealers, and depending on how rosters and things are done, doing a quick translation for that so that you can have the inclusivity that like we really want and aim for. So I'm unless I see something that is absolutely game breaking and mind breaking, I have a that guy situation because of it. I'm literally going to be allowing anything that whoever wants to bring whatever they want to play, they can play at the local. It's free to enter. It's no money. I have extremely loose painting requirements. As long as you're making progress and putting the effort into your team, I count the points for it either way. It's more of a community building tool than an actual tournament format. Now, if this was a GW event or even a gold ticket event, I would definitely change that prospect. A little RTT that's monthly for the locals is one thing, but a GT or even bigger event needs to sort of reconsider what its end goal is. You know, for the narrative event, for narrative, I would be allowing everyone. Just like I know Nova had a narrative. I know that at Worlds they have opened up Kill Team narrative for just playing Kill Team narratively at the event. Um, so for all of that, I would be allowing all the teams. But for something that is supposed to be on the front edge of the competition, and there's a golden ticket, or you're at Worlds, like if you're going to go to Worlds, you should win it on a team that's able to be played at Worlds.
Yeah, we haven't really, as the leadership of Kill Team Cascadia, we haven't really had a time to sit down and digest what this means for our tournaments. But I have a feeling that, like you said, unless there's a golden ticket online, I think we'll be allowing declassified teams going forward. Now we have a year before that's even an issue, so who knows what's going to change then. But Branden, do you even see many teams? Do you see much compendium in your tournaments? I know like David up north, like he loves compendium and plays compendium, was kind of bummed when they were getting rid of it. But do you see a lot of just compendium teams?
I don't see a lot of compendium teams unless Connor is bringing Crute. Again, it's usually someone that's not really trying to aim to win the monthly tournaments. They're just trying to have fun and try out a team and try out its dynamics and try out their 40k models, and that's fine. Like if that's what you want to go and play kill teams with, I'm all for it. Um, if you're running golden ticket events and you have a entry fee, you need to be like setting the expectation. And with GW promising to at least apply balance updates to the teams moving forward into the future, I think that there's a strong contention and strong argument that if there's not a golden ticket, as long as the rules are getting updated for the team, it should be allowed. Especially if you're paying for an event. Now, if my events that I run locally are absolutely free to enter, just show up, roster available. As long as you're not cheating, you don't get thrown out. Really, really low requirements. But the more people invest money into it, I think a higher expectancy of what it should be expected from the game is.
Now, Connor, well, Brandon's Blooded only have a year left in them, and I wish we were recording this like one day later because we'll see a couple of the Blooded rules, and I'd love to get Brandon's reaction on that. But Connor, you've got 12 months left, 12 months with your beautiful baby robots until they are no longer classified, no longer golden ticket legal, and well, if you want a golden ticket now, and I know that was one of your goals for this upcoming year is to win a golden ticket. How are you feeling? What are you gonna pivot to? What's the Connor plan going forward?
Who knows? I do love that. I think I'm assuming at least 1 year in starts when the new season drop or new edition drops. So like October, and Worlds is generally in November. So I love the idea that I win like Killscream 4, or like get a ticket at the AVTT, or come in and get it at Tacoma Open with Hunterclade, and then have to swap teams. At that point, we'll have to see what teams are in the game. Now that I know Casterkin are hitting on threes, they're a little bit more appealing, especially because they're gonna have something that sounds similar to the Doctrine Imperatives, so that'll be kind of neat. Scions are definitely exciting. The rumors of Dark Mech we'll have to see. So who knows, you know? But it's just as someone who I'm a very odd player. I'm probably one of the weirdest competitive types of player, not even just in Kill Team, but in games as a whole. I find a character or a faction I like and will one trick them no matter what. But I will get very, very good at my role or my character or my faction and get good with them. Like I am a competitive one trick, which is not something you see too often. So it's a bummer to know at some point my babies are going to be gone. So I'm excited to have one more year with them. I'm glad they gave us a heads up of a year rather than just like, hey, they're gone next edition. So there's that silver lining at least.
I feel like this is the meme where they're like, "Mom, Dad, do you have a favorite kid?" And they're like, "No, of course, we love you all equally." And then you suddenly grab Hunter Clay by the side, and you're like, "Well, no, 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 it's you, and by a lot."
Yeah,
I feel
100%.
that's like
Yeah.
what's going on.
Well, Connor, you did at our coast weekend. You branched out and played some Casterkin, and you beat Tyler for the first time with Casterkin. You played a little blooded and failed miserably with them. So you are, and I know you've played, I think, on TTS and at some tournaments and stuff. So you have branched out a little bit, but hopefully you find that precious child going forward that is your baby robots and fall in love deeply again. Or do you get Dark Mech, or you just cry a lot.
That or else the latest turn KTC into a boarding actions mixed with Kill Team hybrid server or something and just play Admech there.
Nobody wants to do that.
That's not true. Boarding actions is fun. We'll have to play it sometime. It's a good time.
Spearhead is the one that people
Nah.
are getting excited about. I mean, I don't know. Some people are really enjoying Spearhead. I
I
know that.
don't doubt that it's very fun, but I have no interest in fantasy. I'm a very not anti-fantasy person, but there's just none of the factions that grab my attention the same way a lot of the 40k ones do.
There's a very small but very dedicated group of Spearhead players up here, and it's really interesting to see. And I am getting some AOS models by a weird situation, so I might end up playing it just because I have them. But until then, I'm probably going to figure out what I'm going to turn all those clan rats into.
Yeah, I've done everything I can to not buy the Skaven Tide box, and I did a very adult thing the other day and didn't buy the Blood Angels box because I realized that it was just going to maybe get a couple built, and most of it was going to sit in my closet, and I haven't played 40k since like I don't know, middle of ninth edition, so I need to be an adult and not buy those. And I'm doing the same thing with Skaven Tide too.
Or you buy the Blood Angels thing, boom, now you have a perfect amount for boarding actions truck. I know you already have like 3,000 other points of Blood Angels, but what's another like 600?
Yeah, I have all the points I need for a couple boarding actions games with a couple actually different armies too, I think.
Yeah, because like boarding actions, BA, Blood Angels, BA, it's a match made in heaven, man. I'm going to get you, just you wait.
I mean, I I brought Blood Angels down to the coast and we were going to try and play a game and it never even got close to it.
I'm pretty sure I can play boarding actions with Thousand Suns, CSM, probably Space Marines too, just if I bring all the special characters I have, and then GSC too, because I have a start collecting GSC box just sitting there.
Let's not feed into this Connor like boarding action things he's getting going. Let's just have him find another team. Now let's talk about the classified and about the rotation stuff a little bit. So Branden, you're probably one of the top players in the world. You beat my butt at Kill Scream last year, and you've played probably close to every team, and you do through your content, your YouTube and your Patreon, you do 10 games with a team, you break them down. How do you feel about those 14 teams being rotated out?
Well, real quick for context, 7 of the teams that I physically own are in that first rotation. 7. Uh, Blooded are definitely what I'm most known for. I also have Warp Coven. I have Wormblade. I have Phobos. I have Legionnaires. I have Wormblade. I have a number of teams in there that are all getting cycled out. So I'm less thrilled about that, but I like it's definitely a healthy thing for the game. There are 33, 34 teams, something like that, currently in the game, and there's as much as there's not really a rules bloat as the rules stay the same for Kill Team right now. Like each shooting actions are the same as shooting actions. Remembering what each team does individually is becoming a problem. It's not just that you have 33 teams doing 33 interactions against the other 33. It's like each team has 10 unique characters. Like if you take Blooded for is a perfect example. The Butcher, the Thug, and the Cleanser are all melee guys, but each one of them operates in melee differently. So each one of those guys has a different interaction with all other 33 teams. And remembering each one of those for someone who has never played Blooded before is really difficult. You are also trying to keep in mind the other, 12, 13 teams that you see consistently every week at your local LGS. And then suddenly you run into a Blooded player and you've never seen them before. And you're like, oh, each guy does literally something different. Every single one of them does something different. That's great. And to expect a new player to be able to play that competitively is a lot, and I'll admit that. So GW trying to tone it down so that it's a little bit more friendly for newer players to enter, I'm totally on board with. And like I said, there's no reason why you can't have tournaments that have the extended format. You have tournaments that have both the old and the new in it. So it becomes a bit harder to balance, but I'm all for it.
I just did some quick math, and I'm lucky enough that I have 12 of the 14 teams that are getting rotated out. So yeah, and I actually, if I let me do some real other quick math. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like 4 of those are fully painted too, with full roster of Phobos, Blooded, and Commandos and Deathcore. Finishing out my Deathcore roster. So I am making it my goal to, I think I want to make it to my goal to make sure I get all those maybe built and painted by the end of the first year, which is going to be tough, and actually have a game, because there's some of them I've never played Blooded. Connor's the only one who's played my Blooded. So I'm getting hit hard by that rotation too, even though my favorite teams come from later editions.
Yeah, I have Blooded was my first full roster that I completed, and I was super excited about that. But Legionnaires, I'm creating a full roster. Like I said, it's my paint project right now. Wormblade, I have everything for a full roster. I have everything for a full roster for all of my teams, actually. Literally every team, even the one that was just a. I, I'm in shock. Sorry, I'm looking at that, going like every single team I own, I have enough to roster every single one of them, even the ones that are 1 boxes. So I don't know what I'm doing.
Now, what do you think about the 2 new teams, what we've seen so far of them, with the Vespids and the Tempestus Aquilans? What do you think of those so far, Brandon?
I think that the Vespid are going to be a team that has the lowest of the low playing them and the highest of the high, because the amount of limitations on that team is drastic, but the amount of power in that team is also extremely drastic. With the change of the piercing effect, um, with the different fly, and with their weapons getting stronger when they move, which the kill team's all game about movement. It's going to be extremely important for Vesper players to be able to manage their communion tokens, and the better you get at that, the more effect you'll see of that on the tabletop. I think that the Scions, I'm calling them Scions, I don't care, Tempestus, whatever. The Scions are much more straightforward, much more linear in game style, but they don't feel nearly as flavorful and nearly as interesting, because they do have a lot more freedom attached to that. It's still a pretty unique team. I think that on Into the Dark, that team is just going to crumble drastically, depending on how those tokens move. Because if you're not allowed to move them through doors, you just can't set those guys up. That sounds terrible.
Yeah, do you think the Vespids are going to be like real glass cannony, kind of like more like Mandrakes, or I'm trying to think of another team that's just like, you either are going to do really good with them or you're going to get destroyed.
Mandrakes, I think, is probably one of the best associated to it, um, particularly because they are 5-up save. They have some defensive tools from what we saw at the game, but like 5-up save, my Ogren has a 5-up save, 16 wounds. He dies to shotguns. It happens. So yeah, 9 wounds is a weird breakpoint for a lot of teams, but in the end, it's 9 wounds is not difficult to hit. Um, when you start hitting 11 wounds, it gets a lot harder. But anything that dies in 2 hits from a power weapon, 1 crit, 1 hit is like anything less than that can be pretty thin. You need a defensive buff on top of that to be considered tanky. So we'll see how it goes.
Connor, I know you're really excited about the Scions. Have you have you thought about your paint scheme with those? Because you and me, we're gonna throw down like second weekend these teams come out. Mine are gonna be my Vespids are gonna be fully painted.
Yes, I figured yours probably will be, so we'll have to try it out myself. To do that, regarding paint schemes, I think I might go with the classic Scion one of the like tan fatigues with like the blue armor because I just think it looks really good. And then I can kind of do matching Kriegsmen or something with it too, which would be kind of neat. Make a cool little diorama and like elite squad and then some more basic troopers with them.
What do you guys think of the stuff we've seen with equipment so far? So last week we got a Games Workshop article about equipment. It gave us a little bit of details on them. It didn't give us all the information we wanted, but it sounds like there's a couple sets of universal equipment and stuff like grenades isn't going to be on a certain operative if you take it as equipment, but it's going to be just an item that you can use a couple times across the team. Do you guys like that, or do you guys like the idea that you had to actually put it on an operative and how do you think that changes strategy knowing that anybody can launch that grenade?
So it's definitely something that's nicer for especially newer players where having just I can put 2 tokens to the side and just remember I can throw cracks or a frag and a crack at any given time. Pretty neat, definitely useful. I think it stinks a little bit just because I liked being able to focus targets that have that equipment, but it's something that's so minimal of a change in my opinion that I think it's just probably a net positive because it means it's less stuff that brand new players are going to have to try and track. And then the one real shame for it is that we're likely to see the loss of our beloved little colorful rubber bands wrapped around people's guns and heads and stuff.
I
So
think I think if anything, the loss of the rubber bands is going to help for immersion because you're not going to have people running around. I also hated when people didn't mark out their equipment, and I also hated when people drag around like 7 tokens around the battlefield. So I kind of like the fact that it's just going to be like team wide, or you have a couple uses of it. Brandon, what about you?
I really don't like this at all. Actually, this is one of the things that I'm sort of perturbed by. Is that the equipment can just be from anyone at any time at all the time, and what it is like it's all about the action economy. If you have a guy that has the smoke grenade, you have a guy that has the crack grenade, you have a guy that has the grenade bucket or the ammo bucket, whatever it is. You have that guy and that's sort of designated as part of his APL economy, part of your plan into the rest of the game. And having it be able to flex to other operatives is much better for new players and it's more forgiving for them, but it's also a distinct difference in being able to express how good you are at the game at utilizing those tools. Because if you have a crack grenade on a guy, for example, you have a grenadier or whatever the case is, there's a target on that guy, and being like, oh, I took crack grenades, I took whatever the I took smoke grenades, but anyone can do it. You're like, okay, well, I can't wait out the smoke because everyone can do it. So they can just do it. Everyone can do everything all the time. That's not strategy. It's who has better dice.
So, besides anybody being able to do it at any time, what do you think about stuff like smoke sticking around for a little bit longer, not ending at the end of the turn, but you roll a D3 and it sticks around for that many activations afterwards?
I think that this is a great thing. I think it's one of those things that lets you get the buff from obscuring. Obscuring is already very different from before. So it's not that you can't shoot the person anyway, you just have to take all the penalties for it. And you can actually negate it by running up to them, which was a really common strat anyway. So run up to someone in smoke or run up to someone that's hiding behind cover, negate their cover by being within 2 inches and blast them. Has already been an extremely common tactic for everyone from novitiates to commandos, like everyone in between. Um, that sticking around and negating the obscurity from being so close, I think is a net positive thing. And that is something else about like the tokens is one thing. I understand people having different tokens and needing to understand what rubber band color applied for which token and who has the frag and who has the crack and who has the whatever the blah blah blah. But GW's releasing the set with tokens literally designated for those items. They have smoke grenades. They have other grenades. They have the comms thing. They have all these things that you can literally just put on, like, put out there. Follow the operative that has it, and they're just removing it for the ease of like being forgiving to newer players.
I think the only tokens are just going to be that GW is releasing, at least, are going to be the grenades, and we're still going to be we're not going to have physical tokens, or at least like plastic tokens. We'll still have cardboard tokens for team equipment, so that's not changing as much either. But I like the idea that the threats can come from anywhere, and I think it just comes from me being a player that really sucked at using my grenades. I don't know how many times I gave somebody a frag and crack grenade and then either got them killed or forgot that I had them and never used them. So the dumbing down of kill team works great for someone like me. So
Well,
that's a good point.
so to like compare it, right? If you're gonna compare it, Casterkin and Blooded together, you go, okay. The threats are each side has a plasma gun, each side has a plasma pistol, each side has a melta gun, and then on the Blooded side you have the Ogren, and on the Casterkin you have the sniper. Okay. Once you kill the Ogren, you have less of a melee threat. Once you kill the plasma gun, you have less of a shooting threat. No matter who you kill, you always have the threat of the crack grenade. That dynamic feels wrong to me.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really different, and you're I know it's gonna play a lot differently because you're not gonna have those points. You don't have to worry about those points into a certain character and having them do stuff. Connor is someone who doesn't use grenades because robots don't get grenades because they're an imprecise weapon. What do you think about the changes to him?
So, it's nice that I might finally have access to them. It's a shame that it looks like they're losing indirect and they're going to be on 4-ups because the idea of charge fighting and killing with a Rust Stalker and then throwing a crack at another Marine sounds really, really fun. Now it seems less effective, but I'll still take it. Um, I do think it's strange, like Brent said. Like I think this is a good change for beginners, but it is really weird that I can't focus someone that has a crack grenade. So it's something I think that we'll have to see in play. I'm neutral on it at best because I've never really experienced having indirect weapons in the first place. But I agree it is a bit of a shame that the ability to target down people that are valuable members of your opponent's team is a weird change.
We'll still be able to target people down. It won't be that equipment piece. So
Yeah.
because you're still gonna have your guys with plasmas and guys with other weapons and stuff, but it's not going to be as much the equipment piece. So you're not going to lose valuable points, valuable like guys to your opponent because of that. I mean, from other stuff you've seen, Brandon, do you think that they're kind of dumbing down the game a little bit and making it more, say, Chuck friendly and less Brandon friendly?
I don't know if I would go that far, because obscurity is still sort of a weird like obscurity in how it gets applied is simpler, but the effects that it does are more complicated. Because right now, obscurity is you have to jump through hoops to this way to have your base be X Y Z away, so that you're obscured from them and they're not obscured from you to be able to get a shot from safety. Right now, it's going. Are you obscured? Are you within an? Are you within an inch? Yes. If so, you're in cover. If you're outside of an inch, you're obscured, and obscured shots now apply two different penalties to it after you roll. So like in concept of what checks the box of what obscurity is simpler, but the application of it is more complicated because it reduces how much damage everyone's guns do, and reducing agency for a player is the last thing you want to do. It's the last thing you want a new player to do is go, oh, my big gun does this, and like, no, actually, it only does this because it's because of obscurity rules. And the checkbox is simpler. Are they obscured? Yes. Well, how do I work around that? And to do full damage is not ever that simple. So I'm not. I'm on the fence about that one.
Do you think that do you think that the obscuring rules have been nerfed as far as the shooting so much that taking obscured shots is not going to be worth it, and it's going to be kind of like, I don't know, shooting with like a las rifle into a hardened target?
Yeah, shooting with a las rifle sounds atrocious since I don't remember there being any minimums to the minus damage on that. I'd have to see the rule in front of me to really narrow that down. But and then this circles all the way back around. Like, who cares if your las gun gets nerfed because you get a crack grenade? Because I haven't used that yet, so I might as well. Um, sorry, I keep going back to that tangent. Uh,
Yeah, you
but
really that really is sitting with you, isn't it? That anybody
yeah,
can grenade you.
yeah, that's really bothersome. And I'm not even an elf player, and a lot of elves have this problem. The crack grenade moves out, gets 4 hits, and kills one of my models. And a lot of elves have that problem. They just happen and they die. And there's a number of 8 wound models as well, 8 wound teams that this applies to as well. And now that anyone can do that, anyone has now gained plasma levels of threat against those teams.
Do you think though that we're gonna you're it's still a 6-inch grenade as far as we understand, so you're gonna kind of have to telegraph that threat and AP buff someone and move dash. You're gonna have really
Why?
good threat range,
Why do
but
they need to? Why do they need to telegraph it when it can literally be anyone?
well, because you're still gonna have to be pushing people forward, and to get that threat, you're gonna have to like get them up the board a little bit more to get them within the 6 inches even.
Yep, same range of Melta. So if there's a normal dude that's sitting around the corner and a Melta gunner, the priority is almost always going to be on the Melta gunner because it has the AP2 and the higher damage, at least with current stats. So if I run around the corner and expose myself to remove this high priority threat, there's nothing to stop just a random mook or even a comms guy who would never get equipment from going, oh, I'm going to throw a grenade because now you've tried to kill my Melta gunner. And so I'm still 1-for-1 trading with the random mook that doesn't matter to me.
Do you think this leads to, like, people have been saying that the new edition is going to feel more killy? Do you think this just leads to that because anybody can have a crack grenade?
I think this leads to players understanding how their alphas work better and being able to utilize them more. Um, in the game with Adrian and Alexa, both players understood that yeah, they could probably pull off some pretty sick alpha right now, but then how much does that expose them for their uses later on? And with a team like, I'm gonna jump around a little bit to Corsairs, with an extremely mobile team that still has an operative with fly, like their level of alpha strike is different and has different ranges and threats and different safety nets with it, especially with like the long range blast profile in their guns, on their gunner. So the dynamic of how their alphas work is going to be one of those things where everyone has to understand it, or they just get scrubbed off the board like they face Tyler for the first time.
Now let's talk about Corsairs a little bit and actually the elf teams. So we saw the rules for the elf teams today. At least we saw a little bit of them, and the elves are really fast. The Corsairs, it looks like, still have their free dash every turn, and all elf teams move 7 inches now. Do you like that change? Do you like the fact that all the elf teams are more mobile?
And more accurate with their splinter rifles and sniper rifle. Yeah.
Yeah. And they can
I,
also, the rule now is, it looks like if they have not moved yet, they get accurate 1, whatever that is, and but they can still move afterwards too.
yeah. So accurate one, to my memory, is the same as is the thing you get when you're on Vantage that they showed off that Adrian kept paying a CP for his bugs to act as if he's on Vantage and flying. So he was securing like a blended token, securing a hit without rolling, which I guess is not as powerful as take aim, because take aim you could reroll a 1 into a 6 and get the mortal wounds off your sniper rifle, but it also means it doesn't cost any APL. So elves got a slight buff to how their take aim function works, got a flat buff to their APL management, and then if they're positioned right, depending on how they move prior and shoot, then they get the benefit. If not, they're still shooting whatever the gun is from where they're repositioned to. So they can get to a vantage that actually has targets and just take pot shots all day. I don't know. It feels like a really big buff for Corsairs. I'm really curious to see what the trade off is on the rest of the rules. And just like Mandrake's getting an extra inch on their charges seems absolutely bonkers. They already have one of the biggest threat ranges from conceal charge after someone activates in the game right now. And increasing their charge range just perpetuates that. So I'm sort of curious to see like what the downside of those teams are if they're just getting flat buffs is what that looks like. And I'm not a playtester; I don't know any of the rules, but just what from outside standpoint, there's a really big difference in being able to play position and play the mission from 7 inches to 6 inches, which is why almost every vet guard player plays move, move, move first turn so that they can get that extra inch of positioning, which turns the rest of the game into what it wouldn't have been without it.
Yeah, +1 inch movement is just going to be really, really good. Movement is currently king in both 40k and Kill Team. I imagine it's still going to remain that way for the next edition. Even with only 3 objectives, that's just always good because, you know, 7 inch move all the time is going to be great. Mix it in with Corsairs being essentially 10 inches of movement every turn. That's terrifying to me. And normally, the way they got that +1 inch was they couldn't fight or shoot. I think was the thing with Eldari agility or whatever that is. So being able to shoot at 7 is definitely spooky. The take aim or replacement, whatever it is, like you get the accurate. I'm interested to see how effective that is because on the sniper rifle, that seems pretty solid as long as they're already in a good position. If Camo Cloak still exists, just put them up on a vantage point. That sounds terrifying. But for everyone else, I'm interested to see if that really affects the team because I know relatively most Corsair players don't bring the rifle. The only option I think really to have it would be like on basic elves or the leader, and most of the time the leader is bringing a better gun and rarely are you bringing basic elves, so it's interesting to see. But I think the big assignment for me was Hand of the Archon got a better way to generate pain tokens. If you make someone wounded, you get one, and then so you can't. So that's huge. Just making someone wounded and you get a pain token is incredibly powerful. The fact that it looks like you can then use the pain token after getting it, like say I move, shoot, wound someone but I don't kill them, and get a pain token, and then can use it to dash to cover, is insanely powerful. And now the fact that you could wound someone and then with a later activation kill that model, get another pain token, that's really, really good. They are going to be generating so many of those things against Marines. It's going to be hilarious.
Now, pain tokens previously, how were they generated? I just block out the Hand of the Archon whenever I play them because I'm so salty over that grenade. So was
You
it just kills?
It's literally just kills. It's the same function as a blooded token. You get one when you kill a model. You get two when you kill a model with 12 wounds or more. But and then you could use them the next time around, or use them right away, since you got them on incapacitation. You could use them to then dash after you've charged, or dash after you've fully activated. Like if you moved up to a piece of heavy shot and then dash back behind cover after you killed someone with it, that's fine. But if suddenly someone makes an extra armor save and you don't kill, then you don't get that pain token. You're exposed. This will now let them, if they can play well enough to retain a token at the start of their activation, they can then boost themselves to 3 APL, charge, fight, gain a token from either injuring or killing, fall back or dash with the ability with the extra pain token, and then shoot and injure or kill again. And I don't know the limitations on that dash, but if they all they need to do is do damage, then they can just do that again as well.
Yeah, it sounds like I know that Hand of the Archon players. By the way, I block out my games against Blooded too because that was a painful memory as well. Sounds like the Hand of the Archon players. One thing they wanted previously was to generate more pain tokens, and it sounds like they're going to have a lot of pain tokens now.
Yeah, definitely sounds successful.
I mean,
We'll
they should be
see.
able to generate them off shooting too, right?
They do.
And so
They
they
do.
just need to like pip somebody from across the board, do a wound to them, and then they get a pain token.
Yep, or shoot from across the board with their indirect bird that does minimal damage. Now that guy would just get free pain tokens.
Oh, I never thought about the bird.
Yeah.
That'll, yeah, they're going to be,
Or
they're
if they get it,
looking.
if they suddenly do have fleet of foot, move dash 10 inches to hit with the shredder, so it blasts and hits multiple targets. So you get one for each one of those targets that you injure.
Also, depending on how they bring Chuck's favorite grenade thing, if that permanently injures you, that may count as wounded. So you could throw that into 3 people and boom, 3 pain tokens potentially.
Depending on the wording of that, yeah, that seems pretty gross.
I think Chuck wouldn't be a big fan of that change.
I'm already just curled up in a ball, rocking myself to sleep on the floor, thinking about having to play Fabi's Hand of the Archon again.
Yeah, so I have some concerns about it, and I don't know. I don't know if frag or crack grenades are part of the generic list, but if suddenly elves also have that option to frag or crack, like you're just talking about a team that's faster than the rest of the teams, unless you're also playing elves that get to throw this grenade that kills anything except Marines and sometimes Marines.
Yeah, I
Seems fine.
mean,
Seems fine.
it's supposed to be universal equipment now, so it sounds like everybody gets it. It comes in the equipment pack. So it sounds like everybody gets it, which means that all the elf teams can do it. So you could have Corsairs doing a 7-inch move and a free dash and throwing a frag or crack grenade.
Yeah, that seems fair and balanced. I think, especially against Chuck, that's a very fair move, and everybody should do it.
Yeah, I'm super excited for that. I love wild speculation anyways. It's my favorite part of this game, especially when we get like little rules leaks and everybody, well, some people freak out about how stuff is broken and how nobody ever gets buffed and how some people are too buffed, and that's my favorite part. I am really excited to see what all the rest of the rules come out for all the teams and get to digest those.
So I know you said tomorrow. We're recording this on Tuesday. If you haven't put that together yet, tomorrow we know Blooded. Did they confirm that? I don't remember reading that in the article, honestly.
Well, I guess
They can,
tomorrow's chaos, I think. So
yeah,
that'd
they
be Blooded,
confirmed.
right?
They
Yeah.
said that they'd be doing chaos, which there are a pretty good number of chaos teams. You got the two chaos marine teams, Felgor, Colts, Blooded, Gellerpox, Warp Coven. You have a good number of teams available to it. Um, so maybe we get it. Maybe we see Blooded. Maybe we don't.
I mean, you
Um,
listed 6 and they've been showing off 5. So if Blooded are the only one left off that, that's gonna be funny. Because I imagine if they said Friday we're getting the Angels of Justice, right, or Death or whatever, right?
Well, it looks like I think we'll probably be getting something tomorrow. I think we'll be getting Xenos on Thursday because it says tomorrow is going to be Chaos. Xenos, I would assume, is Thursday, and then Angels of Death on Friday.
So yeah, as long as like Angels of Death isn't like a whole revamp of Intercession, I wouldn't be shocked if they did a bunch of the Marine teams then on Friday, because there's like 5 or 6 Marine teams now at this point. You have Legionaries, Night Lords, Phobos, Justian maybe, but that's Angels of Death, Intercessions, and then arguably Scouts. So Friday just might be saving everyone's favorite for last. So, and if that's the case, then I imagine Warp Coven could fall either Wednesday for Warp Coven, or on Friday. But that puts better odds of Blooded tomorrow, and then we can speculate on what Branden has coming his way.
Yeah, they're saying more. So with the first article that came out with the Imperium forces, which ended up being like Kasserkin, Vet Guard, well, Deathcore Krieg now, Cops, Breachers, they said there are more kill teams to cover the rest of this week, including the Mercurial Eldari, other Xenos forces, plus the Arch Enemy, which is assuming Chaos, and then the Space Marines. So I'm assuming we get Space Marines Friday, so we got like 3 more days of reveals. Goodness, gentlemen.
That's just annoying. I want to paint and glue my Marines, damn it, GW. Let me do it. I don't want to have to wait till Friday. But yeah, it's cool that we're getting a whole week of previews. That's exciting. I'm a bit bummed that AdMech are nowhere on any of those lists at this point, but
I'm
it
not.
is, yeah, I know, buddy, but it is what it is. I just need to know, are they going to make us hit on 4s? Because in a weird, twisted sense, if they make Hunter Clay just suck, I'd oddly be okay with that, because it just means I don't have a year of dreading saying goodbye. I could just cut the cord now.
But would you cut the cord, or would you just carry on? And you wouldn't cut the cord. I mean,
If they made them hit
what would
on
it take?
4s, I would probably cut the cord. Even if they gave us significant buffs otherwheres, I would hate that so much. I hate anytime AdMech in on 4s. It's disgusting. Don't do it.
So Brandon, let's put you in the shoes. You're a game designer. You have to work on the White Dwarf teams, and the one that falls on your desk is the Hunter Clade. How would you update the Hunter Clade for this new edition?
I think a lot of their rules translate over pretty well. Uh, the equipment's going to be really, really curious and important because a lot of the Hunter Clade equipment is sort of like class bound, if you will. You have the uh, bound equipment for the Rusties. You have the Silver Skull and or the Mechadendrites for the infiltrators for free mission actions and pick up items and stuff of that nature. And then you also have the enriched rounds for each of the non-gun carrying dudes on the back line. So I'd be curious to see if they standardize that to because you have I don't know each faction's probably getting two, so you only would be able to get two of those possibly, and then it would only affect some of your team. So it's sort of a curious trade-off. Although those abilities are pretty powerful, I think. Uh, Really, I'm not sure because for the most part, I have yet to find a team that doesn't quite mesh well with the new set of rules from what we've seen. The only team that really feels like they've been shafted on the rules so far, to my understanding, is sort of Wormblade, just because the whole team might infiltrate that is the Reddit rumor is sort of their whole mo for turn one. So that sort of feels weird that they don't have one of their identity things anymore. Um, but the rest of the teams translate pretty decently into the new edition. Even Gellerpox, where you have the four different bugs available to you, you could literally just make each one of those bug types a option, and you get to choose up to two of them. So you choose your bugs, and they go on the field. It would actually give them one additional bug if they did it that way, or maybe you only get to choose one of them. It'd be an interesting thing. So I don't think any of the teams translate with current rule set over to the new rule set poorly at all. And I think you could probably just copy pasta them in, no problem.
Connor, what are you going to do when it becomes the year of the Skitarii Ranger meta?
I mean, if the Skitarii Rangers don't suck, don't get me wrong, I'd be happy for that. The only reason I say they suck is in Kill Team is because they just do. I love the models; I wouldn't mind them at all. I have plenty of Rangers built. My big concern would be if they make us hit on fours, I'd drop the faction dead as hell. I'd be so depressed too, but I would. But then, like Brandon said, their equipment is really weird. A lot of it, like, I hope optimized gate either affects the entire team or ideally is just built into the Rust Stalkers. It would be kind of lame that, like, one of my four equipment things would just have to be to make an operative class even viable to pick in the first place. So, there'd be that. But yeah.
I mean, do you think they need to just their weapons are heavy right now, right?
Yes, the weapons are heavy because when they came out, it was like Kill Team 21 was still coming out during ninth edition. The Rangers, for whatever reason, had the heavy keyword because it was kind of back when every weapon needed to have a keyword. And Rangers have always kind of been weird because when they came out, they had rapid fire, which is double bullets before you got to shoot, and then heavy in ninth edition was if you moved, you hit one worse, which was odd for Rangers, which are their whole thing is they're supposed to be scouts of the Skitarii, but it's whatever. But that came over to Kill Team, and yeah, it's just a bad keyword to exist on a basic rifle that's not even that threatening. It's a P1 bolter, which is good, but having heavy on it just kills that gun.
Yeah, it'd be nice I might even play AdMech if they did something to make the Rangers viable because the Vanguards are just ugly as sin and the Ranger hoods are cool.
I do love the Ranger hoods. Yeah, I like both of them. That's why I love them. But yeah, I would like Rangers to be more viable. My hopes would be maybe they just get always pre-game dash built in. That like they have scouts as a keyword in 40k. Bring it over here. Make the guns cumbersome or just outright remove heavy. 3-4 P1 is not that broken of a weapon profile, in my opinion, of course, but it's not. Like, it's scary on intercession because they can double shoot and they have lethal fives, but on a Skitarii profile, it's not that threatening.
Brandon, have you seen anything from the other rules previews that we've had this week, specifically for the different teams that has really stood out to you, or you just kind of like shook your head like, why the hell did they do this?
Not any ones that I haven't already voiced. I'm sort of worried about what void dancers are going to be. Team wide fly has a non-zero chance of just returning, uh, which Vespid have extreme hoops to jump through with their team wide fly, and I think that's a bit really interesting and solid limiter on them. If void dancers just get flyback again, it's going to cause problems. Although at least the changes to like how charge works means that they won't be flying for charges and stuff like that. So it's an interesting trade off, and I don't know how that would remesh into the group. I already mentioned Wormblade sort of having some of their identity taken into the core rules. Uh, Seems like a miss to me, just because Wormblade were such a weird dynamic team and interesting to both play as and play against. Um, I'm extremely curious to know how much this shakes up the meta just overall. There's a lot of teams right now that don't play the primary mission as well as, let's say, Vetguard on Loot. Right, Vetguard on Loot is one of like the hardest matchups that you can pretty much find on open board is Vetguard on Loot. Just because they play the primary so well with so many bodies and their movement. It's the combination of both that really lets them shine there. And so, with the removal of primaries more than anything, it makes me wonder how much that's going to shake up the power dynamic. Because one of Blooded's biggest weaknesses is not being able to play the primary as strong as these other teams on turning 1.1. Blooded have no problem putting out the damage, they have no problem dying, they have no problem playing with the primary and putting the work in. So, how many of these teams that struggle to play the primary as strong as Vetguard, for example, are going to see issues with these changes? And I'm really curious to see how that shakes up. As far as specific team dynamics go, the Eldar teams have, specifically Corsairs with their mobility, has some issues with me, but it'll be really curious to know what Mandrakes as well provide, since I know like the Chooser of the Flesh being able to charge through all the terrain and get a double kill with mortal wounds on the Reap and stuff like that can definitely be an issue. So we'll see how it pans out.
Well, I'm like one evening away from finishing up my mandrakes, so I'm excited to get those out. I don't know if I'm smart enough to play them, but they look pretty and they seem fun. So we'll see how that works. Now, let's talk about Connor. Do you have something you want to say?
Yeah, just before we move topics, I think a change that really struck out to me that we've seen from the previews you haven't touched on yet. Novi's kind of getting a big hit with their Acts of Faith. If I understand correctly, I'm going to go pull up the article now before I speak out my ass. But I think it's just straight up the Acts of Faith can only be used now to change a hit to a crit or a miss to a hit in shooting, melee, or saving throws. But that's a pretty significant change of like blinding aura and a lot of their other stuff like that is gone. They go from a very dice fixing team to this kind of slightly dice fixing.
I think assuming that that's the only rule they have is a bold move, Cotton.
No,
Faith points and
I'm not saying that's the only one, but at least when I remember reading it, that's what it looked like. The only thing that Acts of Faith can be used for.
it was the only act of faith that was shown. It
Gotcha.
doesn't mean it's the only act of faith. They have 6 or 7 things that they can do with act of faith: improve a miss to a hit, improve a hit to a crit, improve a failed save into a normal save, re-roll, ignore mortal wounds, do the blinding aura. They have a number of things that they can do. So reducing faith points to only increasing saves or hits to crits or whatever the ability that was shown is you're gonna have a whole lot of faith points to do that one thing over and over and over again.
Well, no, Zach seemed pretty broken up about what little changes they did show. He didn't seem too excited about what's happening to his beautiful sisters. So and he knows
Well,
best because he's only played 200 some odd games with them.
yeah, that's something that I'm sort of curious about because a big part of like sisters are another team that don't really play the primary as well as other teams. So they had to rely on a couple different tricks and gimmicks with Blinding Faith and Defenders of Faith uh, to pull out wins against teams with equal number of bodies or like to pull out wins against teams really. And so how those tricks translate into the game now that they don't have to play the primary as hard, they can just play the kill op and their one secondary op seems like a very big boon to them. And I think that seeing how each team wants to play those dynamics is going to be quite interesting.
Yeah, it'll be very fun. I'm excited to see all the full rules, and I'm glad I did look it up because I think this might have been what Zach seemed bummed about and kind of what I misunderstood. But the exact reading now for Acts of Faith is in the ready step of each strategy phase, gain a number of faith points, blah, blah, blah. You just gain faith points. But then the second part is whenever a friendly novitiate operative is shooting, fighting, or retaliating, I'm assuming is like fighting back in combat, or an operative shooting it in the roll attack dice or roll defense dice step, you may spend your faith points to use one active faith. You cannot use more than one active faith per sequence, and their costs and effects are as follows. So it seems like you can only use the acts of faith now when you'd be rolling dice, and that seems to imply that the blinding aura would be gone. I imagine there's still other stuff you can do with manipulating the dice, but potentially losing blinding aura and like would be a pretty big hit to that team. Maybe it's
Well, with the operative shooting at it would be when you could use a. It says roll defense dice and operative shooting at it. No, it says retaliating or an operative shooting at it. So that would be blinding aura.
but it says in the roll attack dice or defense dice step.
It's got two notes there because it says operative is shooting, fighting, or retaliating, or an operative is shooting at it.
And then comma in the
Never
roll
rolled
attack
the
dice
active.
or roll defense dice. So I guess I'd have to
I
go.
think those are all grouped together.
I think that this is one of those rules that is so specific. You need to see the actual rule and can't gauge it off a Warcom article. You can get sort of a gate like a estimation for how some of these work. Wow, English is difficult. You can get an estimation for how some of these things operate, but with something that's so specific as acts of faith, and like it took multiple FAQs for people to really understand that yes, indirect beats blinding aura. Now you're talking about reworking that whole tree. I sincerely doubt it's just the one, and I'm sure there's other things they can do with it. So we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, I definitely agree. There's probably more than one, but it was just the way it worded to me, at least like, in the roll defense dice step, sounded like it's, you can only do it when you'd roll dice. And so now it's possible I need to go and look and see what blinding aura is worded as. But yeah, it's possible it's just something that's kind of worded weirdly. But I know at least
Blinding
when
aura,
Zach seemed down, that's what I assumed was that it got significantly nerfed in that regard.
yeah, blinding aura pretty much said that the operative's in cover, gives it super conceal, and then if you use it when someone declares a shot at you, not when dice are rolled, which in reality would actually make this stronger since dice are rolled and the whole action is completed, and then blinding aura goes, oh no, you can't shoot at her anyway, or possibly it just gives her the effects of obscuring. Who knows at this rate? It could have been, it could have been a number of things, but I can definitely sincerely doubt that the faith points only do one thing.
It's fun to have the wild speculation, though. Let's talk about the most important team, though. And actually, one team that I feel like has kind of, from what we've seen, and we don't have anything definitive, but maybe it's lost a little bit of its flavor and tastes a little different now. And Connor kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, but my beautiful baby Kasserkin, I retired him earlier this year, but I will probably bring him back out just to try him for a couple spins. And it sounds like they didn't mention it at all, and it's not on the Troopers data card, but I think elite points are gone. I think we have kind of the doctrinas like Connor has, except without the negatives. But we hit on threes now, which is good because everybody's, well, at least most people have been, I've never really cared. Most people have been crying for Kasserkin to hit on threes since the Scions hit on threes previously. What do you guys think of the changes to Kasserkin?
I like it. I like they hit on threes. I'm basic like that, but if guardsmen hit on fours, Kasserkin should hit on threes. They've always historically hit on threes, so this is nice. Elite points were neat, but it didn't really do a ton outside of just you can kill real good, which is fun. It's fun to murder your opponent and be like, haha, you're all dead. But I hope this kind of opens up the team to be a little bit more dynamic rather than oops, all shooting really good and pretty meh mission play and really bad melee play. So hopefully some of these new like Doctrina or whatever they're calling things can kind of make them a little bit more exciting in other ways beyond shooting good.
I'm really curious to see how far these balances go with other teams as well. I don't think that a team's identity being, hey, I shoot really well and consistently because I have elite points to do so, was the worst thing in the world. I think Kaskin are still a really unique team and interesting to play with and against. I think that there's some just hidden tech that people haven't really tapped into. I know I saw Alexa playing on TTS as Kaskin, and surprised the heck out of his opponent with a couple of plays. So I think Kaskin are sort of underrated in that sense, and really difficult, much like Scouts were when before they got the recent buff. They're much more difficult to pull off and make work properly to what they're trying to do. I don't think that this is the worst thing in the world for Kaskin. I do think that players that go and start the game with Kashyyykin as their very easy jumping on point for a lot of players are going to now struggle with having to deal with low dice rolls. Because even with all the dice fixing that that team had, they're still struggling to win games. They're still struggling to outkill your opponent. They're still struggling to trade. And when you have such reliability in your shooting and you're still struggling in those things that you do really well consistently, that shows a clear weakness of the team. And this is going to either be a workaround for giving them power in other ways to actually be able to contest in the game, or this is just going to be a band-aid because they didn't know how else to do it.
So what I'm hearing is Kashyyykin changes. They're going to be harder for new people, but they're going to be top of the meta going forward.
You can hope. I don't know what the top of the meta is going to look like moving forward. Like I said, with the dynamic of scoring primary turn one, there are a lot of teams that are extremely happy to start turn one going 3-3. Blooded being one of them. Legionnaires, Intercession, Nemesis Claw, even Phobos, they have no problem going 3-3 turn one. That is what they want to do with turn one. There's also a lot of teams, Vetguard, Kroot, Wormblade, things of that nature, that really want to go 4-2 turn one, or even 4-1 if they can. They really need to apply that early point pressure because they cannot survive long enough to play the primary through the rest of the game. 3 turning points is plenty enough to kill 12 7-wound models and then 1 or 2 special guys, depending on which flavor you're going for. The teams fold over really quick. So if those teams can't get the early points lead that they need, what are their strengths or what's the trade-off there to bring them back in line with the power that they're at right now?
Well, what do you think about a couple things? Now we only have 3 objectives. We went from 6 down to 3, so it's an odd number. So it's not you can't go 3-3 on primary the first turn, and you can't score primaries on the first turn either. It also looks like from the game we saw with Alexa and Adrian that you don't even have to focus on the primary to win. What do you think of those changes that we've seen so far?
Yeah, that's what I'm really curious about because Adrian was obviously playing one game and Alexa was playing another. And the points just sort of fell towards Alexa because Alexa was playing all of his own game plus part of Adrian's, and Adrian couldn't really contest on the primary at all. So it was a really interesting dynamic. And I think that and I don't know what TAC ops or secondaries Vespid have access to, but I think if Adrian had something that was a little bit more killy so that he could win on the kill op, so you're winning the kill op and winning on the tac op. You sort of need to pick 2 out of 3 if you want to win the game. And so giving up one completely to Alexa meant that Alexa could focus on the other 2 and try to contest them on any of those points. And that's what gave him the win. So I'm just sort of curious to see like how that balances out and where the pressure plays are.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting. While we've seen some big changes, I think the scoring change is going to be the rumor of everybody infiltrating so you can order flip on turn 1 and the changes to how scoring is in turn 1. I think those are going to be some of the biggest changes to the game other than the kind of team balance and tweaks. Connor, what do you think about what we've seen so far with the scoring? And you like to run out on points with your robots, don't you? How's that going to change how you're going to play with them?
Yeah, that definitely makes the whole forward deploy ploy we have, and then stuff like sneaky get, at least personally, less enticing if you can't really get a point advantage with it. Because getting in a position early to score points was the main point of that. Especially once they made it that you can't really throw grenades or do anything like offensive with it. So It'll be interesting to see if those stick around, because otherwise, personally, I'm just like, what's the point? It's not like there's a point that you that like is going to be super necessary to get onto turn one to then threaten for turn two. So that'll be a bummer. I liked going 4-2 on loot because haha, I spent a command point for an advantage, and then if I win initiative turn two, I do it again, because going 4-2 twice in a row pretty much kind of guaranteed you the win. Losing that will be a bummer, but no big deal. The only three is really interesting. I like that because that means I have more Rustsuckers with less. Assuming it's the same, but more. But words are hard. We've had that issue today, but there'll be less points for my Rustsuckers to focus on, so that's exciting. And then I kind of do like that the turn one can't be scored. As odd as it is, I think it's a good change overall because it means that the game can be a little bit more decided turn two and not who has a faster team or like double activations to go 4-2 the first turn on stuff like loot. But there's so much wild speculation to go with it. I just need to see the full rules to really have a proper assessment. I'm sorry, I can't give you a real answer, I guess.
We're content creators. You're supposed to
It's broken.
widely
Game's
speculate.
dead. Or it's the greatest change ever. Game is rejuvenated. Everyone should play Kill Team.
That's what we're looking
Just
for. Thank
flip
you.
a coin and then throw that in at the beginning, whatever you prefer.
There you go.
Yeah. So something I want to comment about is on Adrian and Alexa's game, and I know they mentioned who those two players are, but like to give context, Adrian was the number one ITC player last year, went to Worlds and won the biggest Super GT that Kill Team has ever done of LVO. Most recently, this recent January, 8 months ago, and Alexa literally won the first Worlds Championship, beating out every other country, and is argued as one of the best players in the world, and at least has the tournament accolade to prove so. And in Turning Point 1, both of these players have a total of 20 models on the field, or 20 activations total, with some of them off the board because of the way science work. And both of them were, outside of one model being on a single objective, no one was on the objectives turn one. No one. You have 15 models on the board, and only one of them is on an objective. It's a melee powerhouse who is apparently was blocking a door, but there's who is apparently blocking a door, but with Fly, it's not exactly a secure point. So there's a lot of like positioning and sort of who can have more movement agency in the first turn, and that is something that Brood Brothers right now are winning games with, is their amount of mobility with their agency to play early on. And if that's the case where everyone's playing with this agency, anyone who's newer and thinks that they can get an early playoff is going to be slightly saved by the fact that everyone can start on Conceal. Because otherwise they'd be starting on Engage to be able to try to do XYZ play and get punished for it. So I think that you're going to see a lot of these Turning Point 1s be even more standoffish than before, because at the higher level play, you're going to see these where both players fully understand what someone's actual threat range is, what that Melt of Mind can do, what that blast guy coming out of Deep Strike can do with his grenade launcher, whatever the case is. So it's going to be, it's not, I don't think turn one's going to be nearly as deadly unless you have the hyper mobility to get all the way across the board and utilize those grenades.
So elf teams.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be interesting because I think you're going to, if the rumors are true, based on what we saw on the stream, everybody's gonna have infiltrate and you're gonna be able to order flip, but do you want to get out there and push ahead that far, because you can't score anything on turn one anyways? So I'm super excited for it. I can't wait to play it and get my ass kicked by good players. By the way, yeah, Adrian kicked my ass at Tacoma, so he's pretty good. Not that it takes much to kick my ass these days. I've lost to the both of you too, as well. So. Connor, who are you chatting with?
Fuck, sorry, I thought my mic was muted.
No, it wasn't.
I saw.
So, gentlemen, go ahead, Brandon.
Speaking about the mobility, like that was something that was in our game, right? In our game at Killscrim 2, where we faced off, we had 0 models die turn one. And even though I had the chance to get a crack grenade off on one of your troopers, I instead played the primary. And there's the only reason why your trooper was there was to play the primary, where I stole it out from under you by securing it. And without a need to be there, you're not exposing yourself. So why would that trooper ever be there in the first place? So you're not exposing yourself to my grenade. You just go, oh, your grenade's over there. You can still comms him. So your max grenade range is move, dash, plus throw, which means all of my guys turn one, who all start on conceal, just need to make sure they're outside of that range right now. And they're going to be relatively safe till next turn. For next turn, you can't really do much about it anyway, because losing initiative means you're going to take a hit no matter which way you look at it. But it just lets you avoid that alpha from all the way across the board, no matter what's going on, because there's no incentive to play the primary turn one.
So what I'm hearing is, if we replayed that game in Kill Team Edition 3, I would have won. I
If you
appreciate that
want,
analysis.
if you want, we can replay that game the second Kill Team 3 drops, and you can try to assume whatever you want from there. How about that?
Yeah, I'd love to play you again, and I'm sure you'll still smoke me again. So it was a great game, and you beat me down, and you have a sword to show for it. So let's real quick. I do want to talk about Killscream 2 and Killscream 3 that's coming up. But gentlemen, any final thoughts on kind of what we've seen so far with the new rules? Anything else that stands out, or are you just excited for what's coming to the rest of the week and Connor can finally glue his arms on?
Let me glue my arms. Voice crack because I'm 12. No, it's just been cool. I'm glad we're getting a bunch of previews. I want more because I'm like, you're giving us like the tiniest amount, but it's kind of cool to see. Like we've already learned today, elves are going to be fast as hell, and Casterkin got buffed. Arguably, I'm going to say yes because hitting on threes is better than hitting on fours, even with elite points to help balance it out. Hitting on threes is great. Everyone should do it. But overall, neat. I want to see Admech and I want to see Phobos.
You'll see Phobos this week, and you won't see Admech until the rules drop.
I hope that's not true, because that's funny. They could actually, in theory, ignore all the White Dwarf teams for previews, which would be a bummer.
Well, based on what they said that the clowns aren't going to see rules until they have the free rules online with the new edition as well too. So I'm assuming it's just going to be no rules for White Dwarf until we get to the new edition.
That blows. I'm so sad.
Yeah, we'll see tomorrow. And this is something else that I'm almost wishing that we did this recording tomorrow, just so that Chaos could get revealed. I'm curious to see now if they have Warp Coven out there with it, and it'd be sort of interesting to note if they really are just like pulling back White Dwarf team rules, or at least not previewing them for whatever the reason. It'd be sort of curious to know why. I am really excited to see what the blooded rules are. The automatic hit sounds like it went to Vantage, and so I don't know how that stacks with or without blooded tokens. I can say this right now that if I get a plasma gun and I get to double retain from blooded token and Vantage, I'm going to be plasmaing people's faces off, whether you're obscured or not. Good luck saving it. I'm sort of excited about that, and I'm really hoping that the rules reflect something that brings us back down to like the balance of power. The army rules for Imperium were sort of spot on for what we expected, and the ones for elves increasing their movement by 1 inch, like that is such a huge thing. If you think that increasing elf movement by 1 inch is not a huge thing, it also increases their charge range. And there's a reason why intercessors were taking +1 inch, -1 crit damage forever, because that +1 inch made the night and day difference of how lethal and how scary that team was. So, which is why their version needed to get nerfed.
Yeah, who would have thought a 10-inch charge threat range would be a little good? That's, for all intents and purposes, half the fucking board. So that's good.
I know I could sure use an extra inch in my life.
Like, you're already really tall, Chuck. What else could you possibly mean by that?
No, I'll tell you after we're not recording.
Okay. Connor, your mom knows the answer.
God damn it! We almost made a full episode without a Connor's mother joke.
Don't worry, we won't. We have some kind of streak going, I'm sure. So we'll keep that alive.
You had both of us in this episode, and he was expected to get away with that. Come on now.
No, Connor, come on, sweet child. So we're gonna see some more stuff later this week. Maybe if we have some time, Brandon, we can get together and chat about it tomorrow. If you got some time, we can throw a little extra onto this. But let's talk about what's coming up in a couple weeks, which besides the new edition of Kill Team early in sometime in October, pre-orders are supposed to go up in September. But Kill Scream 3, as part of the CRITCon, the Cascadia Regional Independent Tabletop Convention, is going to be coming up. So, Brandon, you won Kill Scream 1, right?
Yeah, I won Kill Scream 1, which sounds pretty impressive, except you got to remember there's only 10 competitive players there that round. We did go 4 rounds, but with only 10 players in the competitive circuit of that, it's more closer to an RTT, which just goes to speak to how big this community has become. Kill Scream 1 was 10 people, and I went 4-0. Kill Scream 2 was 64 players over the course of a 2-day event. And even though not everyone had to play the second day around because we do the Cascadia Cut, that is the tournament that got me my ticket to Worlds. It was a 64-player event where I had 5 wins, no losses, and a single tie to Fabian, to Fabi. So it was such a great time. I will be bringing my sword to Kill Scream 3, which is the first weekend in October. It is a 3-day event with 7 rounds, I want to say. It starts in the afternoon on Friday. I'm going to be carpooling with some people to bring them down. It's going to be a ton of fun. I know we have people that are promised to come from all over, including New York, Florida, Southern California. I'm pretty sure Kel Team's trying to be there. Pretty sure Six-Sided Legion's trying to be there. Pretty sure Kel Team is trying to be there. At least some of them are showing up. And we're welcoming everyone. We want everyone to show up, everyone to have a great time. We KTC and like Kill Scream pretty much started off because some of us went to the first quote unquote Seattle Open at the Tacoma Convention Center and said we could do this better. We could have a bigger and better event. They had 19 players at their Tacoma Open, and since then we've been consistently beating them. Pretty much after Kill Scream 1, every tournament since has had more players than that first event. Even our RTT weekends that have 20 to 30 players. And I am super excited. This is going to be the first 3-day event that I'm going to. It's going to be a blast. I can definitely say this from experience. Even if you don't win all your games, you're going to meet so many new people and have such a good time. You won't care. It's going to be great. Tyler is a evil mastermind when it comes to these things. I always compare him to Carmilla from Castlevania because he's always scheming, always plotting, always trying to think of like what the next big thing he wants to do. And he's a big dream of the driving force of the dream of this thing. Kill Scream 1 had a small narrative and had the 10 of us competing. Kill Scream 2, we jumped to a multi-day event, 64 players with a Wrath of the Lich King sword replica being part of the prize, and Kill Scream 3 has multiple events, multiple tournaments going on, painting classes, a freaking live wrestling show, and it's going to be an absolute blast. Dude, I'm looking forward to it so much. I cannot say enough.
Yeah, it should. Tyler is a mastermind, and I've got to try and rein him back in and bring him back to reality a little bit. But he's still he gets loose and does what he wants. So, yeah, like Brandon said, we're gonna have a 3-day tournament. The first 2 days are going to be competitive, and day 3 is going to be narrative for those who don't make that final cut. But we'll still have tables set up, and everybody can come and play. And who knows, if 3rd edition's out, maybe we can get some games of 3rd edition and try that out. I think if it does drop that weekend, which would be amazing, that's going to be the best place to learn it, because you're going to have a whole bunch of people with Hivestorm boxes digging into the new rules and figuring out what's going on. Brandon's going to be there defending his title and doesn't have to worry about me this year because I'm facilitating. Connor wants to take that title and start his AdMech year of terror.
Yes. If you play me, you should, go easy. I'm a weak little baby.
Don't do that. Take him out. Kill him.
No, please don't. The main, I definitely am going to try and do my best. I want to win it because it'd be cool to get a golden ticket and then be able to play that team in Worlds, because next year also would be really cool. I'd love to do so, but potentially not being able to play AdMech would be a real bummer. But regardless, sign up. It's going to be a good time. Excited to see everyone there and buy shirts from Tyler and merch from people and high five everyone I see. And yeah, sign up. Do it now. Go buy. And remember, I still have yet to buy my ticket. I'll kind of probably buy it sometime Monday or Tuesday of next week. So that discount code is still active. So go buy now.
Yeah, so if you use the code B for Connor,
That's the letter B, the number 4, and then my name spelled CONNOR.
yeah, you get $5 off your ticket until Connor buys his ticket,
Which we'll say Tuesday next week is what's the day? The 17th of September.
So you'll have I mean, he's been saying he's been going to buy his ticket for months, so it could last even longer than that.
We could, but no, I'm putting a soft lock on that.
Yeah, Tyler's kicking in the $5 for your ticket since Connor won't buy his.
Thank you, Tyler, for helping.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great event, and if you've ever played a 4-round day, this is gonna be a little different because we're gonna have 2 rounds, 3 rounds, and then the final day will be the top cut / narrative. But the nice thing about it is you're gonna be done early, so you can explore Portland. Portland has amazing food. If you listen to Tyler, we've got the best pizza out there apparently too, and you'll be able to. It's not as intense as the 4-day or the 4-game tournaments that I think we've all kind of played. I think it's going to be a great place for people to get started too, because you get a bunch of games of Kill Team in. It's a super welcoming community. I know we've got people, like Branden said, coming from all over the place. I know we sold a ticket to somebody in Canada today, so we've got international players coming. It's an international event. So we've also got an Age of Sigmar tournament. So if you happen to be listening to this and like AOS or know people who like AOS, let them know they're doing an AOS tournament. We're going to have some demo games. We're going to have a vendor hall. We've got painting classes with Dan Osborne and Useless Wizard, who are hosting painting classes every day too. So if you don't make it to the final round, or you can take a painting class as well. He's got some. If you go back a few episodes, I interviewed Dan, talked about his classes where he's got some weathering and stuff and grime. So there's a lot of things to do. And, this is the first year we're doing a convention. So there's going to be some growing pains, but it's going to be a great time for everyone. And we're just going to keep building on it for years to come. So hopefully we can make this the next Nova Open or LVO or something, Adepticon, something like that. But, just super excited for the first year and to see everybody October 4th, 5th, and 6th in Portland, Oregon. Go to cascadiatabletop.com to purchase your tickets. It's going to be an amazing event, and you can come and see Brandon's sword and maybe take him down. I know Brandon's shooting for a golden ticket. You don't have a golden ticket yet, right? Unless you take one out of SoCal.
Yeah, no. AVTT has a chance for me to get one if I win with Jeshua. Our team will get one since there's 3 going to the top team. So that'll be my next chance to get one. At Tacoma Open, I ended up going 6-1. I missed the top cut by just a little bit, and so I got 9th after that top 8 cut. And so I'm definitely aiming for a golden ticket. But honestly, I would have loved nothing more than just to see me just get smashed out of it early on. I want to see players come and rock house. I give the Portland guys a whole lot of crap because it really tends to be the Washington players that drive down and kick in their door and take their lunch money when they come to these tournaments a lot of the times. So I would love to have players come in from wherever, like you said, we have the player coming in from Canada. And for those of you who've only played your circle of friends, who haven't really experienced like the joy of playing from someone outside of your meta who plays completely differently, it's one of the best feelings ever. You get to see someone who can be ultra conservative or ultra aggressive in a way that you're not used to, playing the exact same team that you've seen a thousand times. It's always super fun, always dynamic, and that was part of one of my favorite things about Worlds is seeing just the stark contrast from player to player from their region. You have players from Argentina also playing Blooded that were like trying to play a slower game and have the team sort of like cook over time and gain power and ramp up. You had teams from Corsair players that were doing double alpha strikes no matter who their opponent was and trying to see if that would stick to the wall. It was crazy all over the place. And seeing that difference between just, the same 7 guys, don't get me wrong, I love the same 7 to 10 guys I see every week, but playing a different dynamic like that is so much fun.
Yeah, I've played I played at LVO. I did the pods at Adepticon, so not really super competitive, but and then I played Tacoma and I played around here, obviously. But it is really interesting when you get some people that are out of your local meta and you get to play them and see how the game is the same game we all play with the same rules but played differently. So really encourage you to come to Portland, come say hi, come play some games. Connor's buying drinks, so it's gonna be a great time.
I am.
You're gonna buy a White Claw. You're gonna have
Mm,
2 sips of it, and then you can share the rest with everybody
sounds
else.
good.
Is
Yeah.
is he
And if you're
is
at the
he
first
brave
CRITCon,
enough?
that's really cool too, because in like 30 years, when we're the biggest event ever, you can say you were at the original one, and then me and Chuck and Tyler and everyone will all be billionaires by then.
Is he old enough to buy alcohol? I feel like the voice cracking earlier, just like they're automatically going to card him, and it's going to be revealed that he's just 16.
Yeah. All right. So I will get money from Connor, and I will buy you part of a White Claw.
Thanks,
Part
buddy. I
of a White
appreciate
Claw.
it.
All right, and we've got some questions for you, Brandon. So
Oh
the
no.
Ask Vox Cascadia. We told him you're going to be here today, and so we have a couple questions for you. First one is from Greg, and he said, "Why are you such a handsome stud muffin?"
Uh, I got it from my daddy. I guess I don't know. For those of you that know Psy, there's a artist that does the Gangnam Style. He's also got a song that's like I got it from my daddy. So go play that song, and that's why.
So Connor, why didn't get it from your dad? You know, your dad's here on the podcast with us. Greg says he's a handsome stud muffin, and is that where you get your? I mean, you're
It's it skips a generation.
oh, okay. Gotcha. Connor's just adorable though. So Connor's like
I'll take it.
just
Thank you.
cute as a button.
I will say this: my father met my actual live son all through his being a baby, and straight up to my face, my dad said, "Kid, you were never this cute." So all my kids are cuter than I ever aimed to be. So that's fine with me.
Perfect. Greg did ask. He was going to ask this to Tyler as well. Connor, you can just listen. He asked because I assumed when he said why are you such a handsome stud muffin that he was referring to me, but I was wrong. But he did want to know how I maintain that lush beard, and I'll tell you the secret. So the secret is Head and Shoulders 2-in-1 shampoo. That's it. Also good jeans, but
That's
Tyler,
easy.
when Tyler comes back next week, Tyler's going to have to give us his secret because um, that man knows some like skincare and knows some beard routine, and I don't know anything about that stuff. Connor, what about what about your beard? How do you maintain it?
I can't grow one, so pretty easily. I just have to shave every couple days.
I do love that you pointed out that you don't want to grow a beard, but you just want to be able to grow a beard. I feel like that's kind of like the like I don't want to go to parties, but I want to be invited to
A hundred
parties for
percent.
facial hair.
Yeah.
That's perfect. So, um, one of our regular question askers, Addie, says, while we're talking about third edition, we need to talk about another thing that needs a sequel. That being the hit Marvel movie Shang-Chi. If you could nominate one of your models to be the bad guy in that movie, which one would you see on the big screen? And I have a confession that I have not seen that movie yet.
I haven't either. The last like Marvel one I saw was like Endgame, and then I think like Guardians 3. So I don't know. I'm sorry. No real answer, I guess.
You know what? I may also not have seen that movie, but I play Blooded, and I really feel that like the the Blooded Chieftain, specifically with the bolter and chainsaw, just because it's more of a classic setup, could definitely be the villain. The Enforcer is like his right hand man, and the Ogren is just like the one that follows orders from the Enforcer because the Enforcer going to lay down the slap with a big old metal hand. Like the Blooded could totally be a villain, and I really wish I knew how to draw even close to well, because I would love to have like a comic book or a manga or something of just like kill team escapades where it's like the Blooded escaping from a compound when when they go traitor and stuff like that. I think it'd be really really cool because it doesn't have to be super lore accurate. It could just be some almost like escapism, mindless violence for it, and have them interact with Space Marines a little bit, and you, I think you'll be cooking pretty hot with it.
I mean, you could commission somebody to do that, or just find somebody to give it a swing at it. There's also AI, but we should stay away from AI because it just steals everything. But yeah,
Yeah, I'm not about that AI. Yeah, it's just a lot to try to commission that, and I do have my Patreon and things, but it's not quite to that level where I could just commission stuff left and right. Um,
that's fair. Um, Me personally, I think that especially for Shang-Chi 2, the Magus from my Brood Brothers would have to be the villain. I mean, Brandon actually was nice enough to hook me up with the female version of the Magus with the bald head and the staff and the dagger. I think that's like straight out of Shang-Chi 2. Um, I mean,
yeah,
that's it right
especially with
there.
the mystic look to her. Oh yeah, she would fit in real well with that, no problem.
Yeah. So Connor, who's the bad guy on your team or one of your teams or your next team?
Um, I'm trying to think like who would probably be the coolest at kung fu. Maybe like a legionary butcher because they got a cool axe and it looks scary, and it'd be fun to try and fight a guy with a giant axe.
Wouldn't it just be like one of your Rust Stalkers though? I mean, Rust Stalkers are like they're straight out of the movies bad guys. Like, I mean, they're basically the General Grievous, right?
Pretty much, but then that means they'd have to lose, and I don't want to see that.
Yeah, but everything they're in, they lose.
Yeah, you're right.
Uh,
Sadly,
Every book that I've read about Admech has, or with Admech in it, they're always the bad guy.
Every time that one AdMech player plays, what's his name? He always loses too.
Connor.
Nailed it.
All right, and we have a question from Max. Brandon, describe in
Sir.
detail why I'm your favorite.
Uh, so I saw this question earlier, and I felt like I was going to get bit by it. And really, my favorite is actually Max's wife. Max's wife is the bubbliest person ever. And I remember the first tournament that all three of us were at, and my game had finished with Max to her uh, chagrin. She was instantly my Brimstone Grenadier's biggest fan. We'll word it that way. And we walked over to see her playing, and she's like, "Okay, I'm going to ask your veteran guardsman to kindly jump on my giant Death Guard axe," and proceeded to roll 5 crits and scream and giggle, and it was just a joy to watch. And she brought so much energy to that little room with only 7 of us, 8 of us at that little mall store. It was so much fun, and everywhere she goes, she's just super bubbly. And Max by proximity is much more stoic, but such a great person and such a wonderful, just kind-hearted person. Max is one of the biggest reasons why I still played Kill Team. Little known story. We're going to go off on a tangent here. My first Kill Team that I painted up and went to play got stolen out of my car. Um, I had a model. I was going to play Warp Coven back when they were super bad. I had a model that had little stilts on it, and I put little clouds underneath his feet, sort of like Dragon Ball Z with the Nimbus Cloud type, where he's like flying around. That was going to be my flying sorcerer. And I did all these custom things to it, and it was stolen out of my car the Tuesday before the tournament, and including my white dwarf that had all of my rules. And this is before the annual came out. And upon overhearing that this is what went on during day one, Max went through all her white dwarfs and found the white dwarf that had my rules in it and brought it and literally gave me the white dwarf so I could continue playing with all of my rules intact. And for those of you that haven't played as Warp Coven, they're not exactly a simple team. And I was just getting into the hobby at the time. So between trying to remember rules and not having them in front of me and just being down about having a bunch of my models stolen, Max was definitely the first person that reached out and made that just it absolutely like touched my heart with how wonderful she was. So just quick shout out to Max.
No, that's an awesome story. Um, yeah, Max is great. I haven't had a ton of time to spend with her wife, but the time we did spend in Tacoma, she seemed, yeah, like you. She had a lot of personality, a very awesome energy about her. So I'm hoping we can spend more time in the future with that crew. It was super fun. And Max brought me a bottle of Nuke Waste, and that was delicious too. So that was good. Now, when Max proposed the question of you describing in detail why your favorite, Addie was wanting to make sure that she knew that she was actually your favorite. So, and now apparently the two of them must duel. So, I don't know what the terms of this duel are going to be. I'm guessing it's going to be kill team. Um, I think Brandon, you're gonna have the two of them fight it out for your affection.
The only problem with that is trying to stick Adelaide to a single faction. That's going to be the only problem with it. Trying to get her to like say, "This is what I'm bringing," because I'm pretty sure Max will bring her void dancers. They're beautiful and lovely, and I'd love to see the colors that she has on them. So we'll see if she actually brings her void dancers, or if Adelaide, and see what Adelaide decides to bring. I don't know. She's one of those sort of like Kit, where she'll swap teams on the way to a tournament and play that just because she's feeling it.
So she'll come up to the table with a team and then change her mind when she sees the void dancers. And I mean, she's got to decide at least by the time you guys are they're rolling initiative. So
Ad, Adelaide won't change her mind when she sees her opponent, but she'll change her mind like all the way leading up to like entering the store. She'll have 3 or 4 kill teams with her, and she'll be like, "Okay, I'm going to play this one." Then she'll walk in the store and be like, "Nope, this is the one," and she'll pull it out, and that's what she plays.
she could just do like I did at the coast and did the roulette wheel. That was actually super fun. Put all my teams onto a roulette wheel and spun it and just let it choose fate for me. And it unfortunately it chose Brood Brothers and Intercession. I did get Hearthkin Salvagers one time though. That was super fun to play with those for the first time ever.
You could do it like I do it with my community, just sort of voting to see what I'll play next. That always leads to some interesting games.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. Your how's Patreon coming? How's I saw you hit a milestone on your YouTube as well too.
Yeah, I hit 100 subscribers. I got yay!
That's great.
I
Good job,
was
dude.
I was super excited about it. I know it's not that big of a number, but I was just one of those things where I'm like, hey, cool, it works out. Yeah, so I do this thing where I play 10 games as a faction, and for each one of those games, I do a written bat rep. All of these written bat reps you can find for free on my Patreon, patreon.com/KiddoCrewGaming. Um, and at the end of it, I do a synopsis, also written, and then I do a YouTube video associated to it. So far, I've done Exaction Squad, Scouts, Warp Coven was the first one, Wormblade is the most recent one, and I got voted to do Inquisition next. Um, and we will see what the rules come out with. There's just simply not enough time for me to do 10 games of Inquisition where I play the rules correctly. They're an extremely complicated team. Just even in their roster selection and the number of options they have. So to be able to play that team to competent levels is already a task. And I don't want to try to cram it in before the next edition. Since the edition got announced that it is coming out, should be at the end of this month, if not at the start of next month. And it's just not enough time to get 10 games of Inquisition out. But if you want to check out my takes on stuff, I go over a team, go over their plays, go over some of the key operatives, go over some of the key plays to look for, or look for watching out against. Um, and I try to talk about different strengths and weaknesses of the teams that I play. And you can find that over on YouTube, also at /KiddoCrewGaming. And if you ever have a question and see me in a Discord, just feel free to shoot me a question anytime. I will answer all of the things as soon as I see it.
Yeah, I'm one of your Patreons, so I take advantage of all the content that you do. And you know, while 100 subscribers may not feel like it's a lot, what I did think about this when we first started the podcast too, because I was thinking like, we're gonna start the podcast, I'm gonna be rich and famous. I mean, not that, but I thought, you know, we're gonna have 1 million people listening to us, and we didn't hit those numbers. We, you know, some of our episodes had, you know, 100 plus listens, and I thought to myself like, 100 people, or at least a few people up to 100 times, took the time to listen to the bullshit that I spew. So
And that's
that's
with
pretty
me
awesome.
throwing out AdMech all the time. So
Yeah, and that's with Connor's AdMac bullshit too. So the fact that like if I was in a room with 25 people and they were listening to me talk about this silly ass game that we play, which is super amazing, like that is awesome. So while it may not seem like a big milestone, and 100 may not seem like a lot, I think it's awesome that 100 people have committed to getting you into their algorithm, and I know that I'm one of those subscribers as well too.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. I put a lot of work into all of those bat reps just so that like everyone knows like how there's a lot of content creators out there. Some of them kill teams, some of them not. But even those written bat reps are, I don't know, 2,200 words each. I know the synopsis ones that I put together are 35 to 5,500 words. Like my exaction squad is like 4,800 words or something like that. Um, and it does take a lot of time. So to see just anyone appreciate is really cool. And I think my exaction squad video has like 1,200 views or something crazy. Um, so it's been really interesting and uh, refreshing to know that like my input is actually being received by some people. And I think that like one of the biggest shout outs I got recently was Jason. God, I'm going to mispronounce your last name. Stanky. Uh,
Staneki.
there you go, Staneki. Gave me a shout out not too long ago when he was talking about Wormblade. Um, and we had like a 2 hour talk about Wormblade before he went and won a tournament. And as much as I would love to take credit for that, that guy's just really good. That guy, I don't know about you, but I can't just pick up a team after 2 hours and win a 40-person tournament with it. That's bonkers. So that guy's just really good at the game. But it was really nice for him to give me a shout out for something like that. And I like do coaching and I do extra Patreon content for my patrons and stuff. Um, and it's just really cool to see people that like take my coaching to heart and do a couple lessons with me, even if it's not like a paid content thing. Do well. Like I know Connor, I've practiced with Connor back over and over and over, beating him down to get him into some good habits. And he went top 8 at Tacoma. And one of the other guys I play with a lot, Chuck, also went top 8. Chad also went top 8 at Tacoma. So like, it was really cool to see those guys do as well as they did and fight each other off in the top 8. It was sort of a proud moment for me to see that happen.
Yeah, thanks, Pops.
Yeah, did you get your homework done?
No, I did not. I'm just gonna get a C and be proud of it.
Well, I mean, they say C's to get degrees, so yeah. I actually, quick story about Jason. Jason was the one who picked up Intercession, won SoCal Open, went to Worlds. I actually played him in at LVO. He was super nice dude. He brought the Agents of the Imperium, and that was the first time I ever played against Agents, and he beat me in that game. But it's a nice dude. And yeah, I heard that shout out. I think he was on Squad Games when he gave you that shout out, I believe. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining. So make sure go to cascadiatabletop.com, get your tickets for Kill Scream 3 October 4th, 5th, and 6th. You can come fight Branden. You can come get a drink from Connor. You can come say hi to me. I'm not playing, so I'll be running the show there with the help of Tyler and Greg and the rest of the Kill Team Cascadia staff. So we'd love to see you there. One more time, Branden, where can people find you?
You can find me Kiddo Crew literally everywhere. Kiddo Crew Gaming on Patreon, Kiddo Crew Gaming on YouTube. Instagram is also Kiddo Crew. KID0 KREW is my username on everywhere, including Discord. If you find me, send me a message. I will reply to it. Literally wherever you find me, I will reply.
Yeah, we'll put some links for Branden in the show notes, and then Connor, where can people find you? Where can people find us?
Find me personally at Spanaway, of course, and then follow us at Vox_Cascadia on Instagram to see all the photos we talk about when we post them.
And I'm at Painted Cave Minis on Instagram if you want to see my stuff. One thing too, we really appreciate you listening, even if it's 5 of you or whatever. If you could like our podcast, subscribe to the podcast, give us 5 stars, put comments in there how much Connor sucks and how much you hate the ad.
No, not that last stuff.
All of that. It really helps, and we really do appreciate it. We do this just because we like talking Kill Team, and we just like hanging out with each other, and we appreciate that you take time out of your week and listen to us. So thank you so much. Hope to see you coming up at Kill Scream, and you can come tell Connor to his face how much you hate Admech.
It better be a lot.
Don't do any of that. Help me sign a petition, make him always in the game.
we need a locker at Killscream so Connor can get shoved in it. Bring back old memories, right, buddy?
We
I
just
hate
need
you
to shove.
guys.
We just shove the AdMech models in there. Every time we see an AdMech player, we bring them over to the locker, shove their models in there, and then make them watch as we shove more AdMech models into there.
Yeah, I mean, I tossed an AdMech model in the trash the other day and then totally forgot about it and had to. Well, I didn't get it out, so and garbage was last week. So sorry, Connor. I'll give you that video to post on Vox
Did
Cascadia
you
though for
actually
Instagram.
throw it out?
Yeah, I threw it
I
out.
hate you so much.